What's up guys, it's Oblivious Gamer here, and this video will be my impressions on Digimon Survive. The game just came out. I personally got the Japanese version, which came out a bit earlier than the worldwide version, and I have been putting some time into the game. And to be honest, I am quite surprised how the game ended up, and so far it has been a great experience. Now, before I continue, if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe. As we know, Digimon Survive has been having a bit of a rough time. The game was announced on July 2018, and the game has been delayed multiple times. Not just that, but there was very little communication with the developers. They would promise like, oh, we will have a spring update, and the update never would come, or barely any footage or anything showing off the game. And also turns out Bandai Namco switched developers midway from Witchcraft to Hyde. And just recently, when the game was about to come out, like just a couple of months ago, they finally start revealing more trailers, like just building up. Another thing to point out is the game has been having terrible marketing. Of course, I was very concerned because this is a game I was excited when it was announced. And well, after following the game and seeing everything that has been happening, I was like, will this game actually be good, or will it suffer due to, the development problems? Now that I have been playing the game, I can tell you for me, it has been an amazing experience. And this game so far has lived up to my expectations. A big thing I want to give a heads up is, yes, the game has elements of tactical RPGs, but it also has visual novel elements. And believe me, you will be doing quite the reading. The plot goes that basically you will follow Takuma Momosuke, as he and his friends Minori Hinata and Aoi Shibuya are on what seems to be a school trip doing historical studies. Some strange events have been occurring in the area that they're visiting. As they proceed with the trip, they meet Mio Shinonome, a local girl who is talking to Saki Kimishima and Ryo Tominaga, two other students who are part of the trip. And she convinced Saki and Ryo to follow her and visit the local temple, which is supposed to be off limits. Takuma, Minoru, and Aoi see this and decide to follow their fellow students to the temple to bring them back. As they're doing that, they encounter Shuji Kayama, their chaperone for the trip, and Kaito Shinonome, Miu's older brother, who is looking for her. Together, they decide to bring the group back from the temple. However, strange events start occurring, and in an instant, they find themselves in a different place, surrounded by Digimons who want to attack them. As they're trying their best to survive, they meet up Digimons who turns out to be friendly to them, and they reveal that there's actually Digimons that can talk and are friendly and will want to just talk with them. Now it's up to Takuma and his friends to try to figure out what is going on, how they got to this other world, and what can they do to go back home, as well as hopefully trying to survive. I am personally liking the story so far, every step of the way, especially learning about other characters as you're trying to figure them out, because some might be a bit out of it, like weird, and you're like getting weird vibes. I feel there is of course some nostalgia here, as Digimon, at least the original O2 and Digimon Tri, if I'm saying it correctly. I watched the Latin American dubs, of course I didn't call it Tri, but as far as I remember, the story always involves students getting teleported to a different world and having to deal with what is going on and the circumstances. However, this one adds an extra step that a decision can lead to the death of you or your friends. The gameplay is split, I would say. First, the game is like a visual novel. That's the first part, which I mentioned before. You will be doing a good amount of reading, which for me has been enjoyable. The game has different types of what you can call sections for the visual novel part. You have the drama parts, which is how the game refers to proceeding the story, which is just reading decisions and just moving along. Then you have search action, where you're in a room and there are different items in the room that you can look at. Sometimes finding useful items, You can interact with other characters, you can explore different rooms, or even you can use your phone to spot things that seem out of place. Then you have free action. This part of the game is where basically you can go around areas and specifically further your relationships with other people. However, there is a limited window time. So it's not like you can just talk infinitely to everyone to further your relationship. There will be some choices. The game has a big focus on choice. A lot of times during dialogue, you will have choices to make which can lead to different outcomes or have consequences. Also, some of your dialogue will affect your karma, which is divided in 3 sections: moral, harmony, and wrathful. These values will change depending on your decisions as the story unfolds. Karma will have an effect, for example, on Agumon's Digi-evolution. Another thing to watch out during the dialogue decisions is affinity. Certain choices can increase your affinity with certain characters. Increasing your affinity with characters is something you will want to do, as they affect the frequency of the character backing you up in battle and their stats. It will also affect the digi-evolution of other monsters and a lot more. So choosing who you spend time with or who you want to increase your affinity with will be crucial in the game, not just plot-wise, but gameplay-wise. I feel the game visually looks stunning. The character designs are looking really good. And during dialogue, their expressions and the way they're animated adds so much here. You can clearly see how much work was put in the visual novel aspect of the game. Okay, we're done with that part. Now let's talk about the tactical RPG part. During your adventure, there will be many parts where the game changes from visual novel to a tactical RPG. Here, there are a lot of mechanics that will feel very familiar if you have played any tactical RPG. Fighting involves your Digimons going against enemies. There are squares which you can move. Each Digimon will have different amount of movement. The fighting basically has a rock, paper, scissors mechanic. There are 3 types of Digimon: moral, vaccine, wrathful, which is virus, and harmonious, which is data. They all have their strengths and weaknesses against each other, which is hence the rock, paper, scissors mechanic. The Digimons have HP and an SP bar. SP is consumed by using skills, or in the case of some Digimons, when they digi-evolve. A big thing that would be part of your fight is the orientation. Side attacks and back attacks are more accurate and stronger than doing frontal attacks. However, the enemy can do the same thing whenever your turn ends, so you will have to choose a direction to face, making you guess which direction your opponent will attack, as the last thing you want is them attacking your side or your back. Fights are pretty straightforward, especially if you have played, as I mentioned, any turn-based RPGs, so I really don't feel I can add much to the discussion here. So some other mechanics that were added is you can talk to your Digimon and your classmates too during the fight. Doing that can give buffs to them. But not just that, you can talk to enemy Digimons. Talking with them leads to interrogation system, where they ask you some questions, and depending on your answer, the Digimon might become an ally or give you an item. However, if you fail, Digimon will gain a buff during the interrogation, so be smart if you want to talk to them. You also have the aspect of training your Digimon and leveling them up. There are items that can increase your stats that you can give them. There's also food or consumables you can give to the Digimon that can increase their levels or certain stats. Many times you will have access to free battle where you can train your Digimon by fighting. Personally, I have been having a lot of fun with this game, a lot more than I expected. It's pretty sad all what happened with the game and the bad marketing it had, because I feel a lot of people either forgot about the game or have been turned off to what was happening. I think this game is fantastic and it's practically coming out on every platform. A bit sad the game might be overshadowed due to Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which has been getting a ton of great reviews, whereas Digimon Survive didn't give out early copies, so reviewers couldn't talk about it. I feel I can recommend the game to almost everyone, and I say almost. I feel if you're not a fan of visual novels or a lot of dialogue, you might not enjoy too much this game, as there's a ton of it. I would say there's more dialogue moments and choices than, tactical RPG parts, at least at the beginning. Like during the first hour, you will go quite a bit of time before you can get into a fight. But if you like visual novels or even tolerate the amount of dialogue, I can say the game is super worth it, especially with how the story is unfolding and how the game eventually plays with the RPG aspects. If you're a Digimon fan, I would say give it a try and hey, try spreading some awareness about the game because it definitely will need it after the bad marketing, and it's a really fun and great game overall. I at least think that. I'm loving Digimon Survive, but as always, it's not just about me. What are your thoughts, guys? Have you tried Digimon Survive? Feel free to leave your thoughts down below. This has been Oblivious Gamer, and I hope you'll have a wonderful day or night wherever you are.